All right. Here we are, another episode of the DAWk Show, and I am here with my friend Katie Shesko. Katie, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in the world.
Yeah, so I am a flute player. I do covers of video game, TV, and anime music over on YouTube. You can find all of my music on Spotify. I'm also a Twitch streamer where I do not only music streams, but I do speedrunning streams. I'm now getting into Breath of the Wild speedrunning. I was doing a lot of bingos, and if anyone's interested in like what is a video game bingo, like I have a video on my channel about specifically Breath of the Wild, but most games kind of follow the same thing. But I was convinced to start doing 100% speed run, which is like a 16-hour speed run. So yeah, it's happening like over several.
Right. So that's like playing through a video game really fast.
Yes, it's playing through a
Okay.
video game really fast, and 100% means you're getting like all of the things that the game has to offer.
Okay. And
Um,
and bingo is like the people watching at home, like keeping track of
Yeah,
the
so
different
bingo
things.
is a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of under the umbrella of speedrunning because you're still trying to go fast. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a 5 by 5 grid, like a bingo board, and it
Mm-hmm.
has a bunch of different objectives from the game. And your goal is to get either some people will just get one line and you'll race to see who can get the first bingo. I usually do co-op where like we have a bunch of people and we'll pick which objectives we're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to get all of the objectives between us, and it's kind of a co-op thing, and we just see how fast we can do it, and it's a great way to just kind of hang out and chit chat, and my friends are hilarious, so it's always a good time. So even if you're not interested in the games, like I still say come by stream because there we have a lot of cool discussions, and
Mm-hmm.
we're funny, like yeah.
Nice, 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 nice. So this podcast is all about music technology, and so what is sort of your realm of expertise in that world?
Okay, so I am a studio artist, but I do everything here in my house, in my basement. And my husband does 99% of my production.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do it from home, and I've released a bunch of stuff, and I don't know, people seem to like it, so I keep doing it. And yeah, I live stream. So that has a lot of technology that has to a lot of moving parts to get a live stream, especially music when you have a backtrack and
Mm-hmm.
you're playing live on top of it. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. I usually have at least 8 different tabs open. I have 2 different monitors. I always say I think my next big purchase is going to be a third monitor because I could
Mm-hmm.
really use it sometimes, between just managing volume levels as you're going,
Yeah.
and the set, the set list, the song list, and people requesting things, and if someone donates you got to rearrange your set list, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a lot of moving parts to work relatively seamlessly.
Yeah, the more monitors you have and the more moving components you have, it's like I have a spaceship,
I'm
basically.
slowly getting I have like I bought 2 very long tables to make an L desk to like
Okay.
have everything, and as much as I try to keep it neat and tidy, I'm looking at just piles of
Yeah.
stuff of all of my things, and I'm like, I really could use like some more shelves. Like
Yeah.
I need even more space to put stuff because I just got it
And
everywhere.
like as a flute player, could you even imagine this like this like pipeline to like flute player to
No.
giant spaceship of tech?
I did not. Like I started doing this I think 2019
Mm-hmm.
is when I really started working on my first album, and it kind of started as like I've always wanted to be a flute player, but like I'm not dedicated enough to practice for 6 hours a day, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the support growing up to like go to a music school. I actually went to engineering. I have an engineering degree.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have the support to go to a music school, and I knew like at some level I wasn't going to be able to be like a top level flute player in an orchestra without those kind of things in place. So, um after a roundabout between like having kids, and I had an Etsy business where I was sewing, I went to my husband, I was like, I really want to be a flute player, and he's like, well, we can do it online. It's like, what do you mean we could do it online? He's like, yeah, you could do it online. And then I started looking to people like Taylor Davis, who is a violin player who does covers of video game music and stuff. And I was like, I didn't think you could do that. Like, I always thought you had to like always be original and stuff. But I was like, but I like video game music.
Yeah.
I want to play video game music. And the more I looked into it, I was like, no, there's actually a market for video game covers. And I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm doing now. And then slowly I realized, well, okay, if I'm gonna do this, it's better, it's more efficient for at least me to do it at home and not go to a studio. So it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do that? So it's like, that's when you start getting into your microphones and your audio interfaces. And then you need like the monitor so that you can actually properly hear it. And you need good headphones and you need a good computer that can process all of these things and like getting the virtual instruments. And most of that like lives with my husband because like I said, most of my production. But then as I started to do music live streaming, I started to have my own setup where I need my own audio interface and I need my own computer. And that was, I mean, I don't need a separate computer for a long time. Like I was streaming from his, I call it his computer because he built it with his specifications in mind. But I was just like, well, if you're working, I can't do stuff. And if I'm doing stuff, you can't work. And he has a full-time job outside of the house. So like coordinating stuff was just like really tricky. And I couldn't always work during the day and I needed to get work done. So we ended up building a whole separate system for me. So I have my own computer with my own audio interface, with my own double monitors and the keyboard that I like and my own microphone. My own tech. So like it's just like, you don't realize how much you need to actually do some of this stuff. And, I'm happy to be like, hey, like, this is what I want to do. What do I need to do it? And now I'm starting to think of like even more stuff. I was like, it would be nice to have a mini keyboard. Work. So that's kind of like on my Christmas wish list. I was like, I'd like a little mini. I did just get a new comfier chair. That was also on my Christmas present that was built last night during stream.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd like a little mini keyboard to help build backtracks that I use for stream. Cause like I have like my professional backtracks that are like on my recordings. And then I built some simpler ones for stream just because obviously it doesn't have to have quite as high quality as if I'm like releasing it for public consumption as far as like downloads and permanency. You know, a backtrack for stream can be slightly lower quality because it's more about the live experience than it is about the actual recording. So I thought I would just need a nice flute. And so that's a long roundabout way to be like, I thought I needed like a nice flute and maybe a microphone to go into the computer. I was wrong.
and now you have a spaceship.
And now we have my own, like now we have like 2 spaceships down here in my basement. And I'm like, I need more for my spaceship. Like I don't have enough for my spaceship and I would like some more.
I look at your lighting and I'm like, and like one of the things on my list is like, but what if LED lights? Like
I love my LED lights. I got them on Amazon. I hate buying from Amazon, but like when you're on a budget, you go where you can get the cheapest. And I got some pretty cheap LED lights on Amazon and I built that out of LED lights, my little Triforce. But like as a live streamer, like the ambiance of your stream is kind of a big deal. Like people come for you, but like if you have like a cool ambiance setup, then like it just invites people to stay a little bit longer. And also it makes me happy.
It's like inviting people into your living room. I'm like, I don't know. This is my cave. This is my padded room. There's a cat keyboard. You know, we're just chilling. It's great. Awesome. So, the thing that I wanted you to show the audience today is to talk about your live looping experience and like how it and maybe demonstrate how you do the thing and break down the technology and all that good stuff. Awesome. So we're looking at Studio One. So this is another DAW we are meeting on this show.
Yeah.
As we're going through, we'll walk through it. But again, it's a similar format where you have the individual tracks, going horizontally, and then the things you can put on the tracks, it looks like going toward on the bottom.
Yeah.
So,
So exactly. I kind of built a file. I started one because this was my test file, but
mhm.
essentially, I'm gonna do a song with 3 flute tracks, and then I will improvise the fourth part of it. So I'm gonna build myself 3 harmonies. Um, so I have those tracks right there. Um, Now on each of these tracks, there are certain effects that I add, and I think I do want to preface, I'm still kind of new to looping. I am by no means a looping expert. There are a lot more better looping experts out there. But if you're like, I just want to dabble. I don't have a loop pedal, not yet. Again, that's one of the tech things that I would like and is on my wish list. Um, but if you are like, I just want to experiment, like, do I even want to invest in looping? Because again, as with most of these tech things, you can like fall down the tech rabbit hole when it comes to.
Mhm.
So, but if you're just like, I have a DAW, what can I do with it? Can I even start looping? Yes, you can. And that's what I'm here to do today. So you set up your tracks. I'm going to do 3 flute, and then I'm going to do another flute on top of that. And what I would do with my live looping is I would build a couple of backtracks, and then I would just improvise over top of it,
Mhm.
at least at this point in time. So I have my tracks, and on all of my flute things, there are a couple of uh, effects that I add. My first is my mix tool,
Okay.
and that is just to bring up my gain. I don't need it too much on this current setup. I use it mostly when I'm doing my recording.
Mhm.
But this is just to bring up the gain before anything else happens.
So
I usually
so you have your preamp, and then it goes into the gain. So that's like bringing up the how much is going in
yes,
overall. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
exactly.
and those listening and not watching the visual, it's like a simple little knob
Yeah.
that just says mix tool.
Yep, it's a mixed tool. And all of these are native to Studio One. I
Okay.
am not using anything that you would have to buy separately if you have Studio One. I have the professional version. I actually no, this one's not the professional version because it's on my rig. But even the base Studio One are going to have these presets. These ones are just native to Studio One. So
Okay.
hey, you don't have to buy anything extra. You can find all of this within Studio One. And I would imagine you can find most of this in any other DAW as well. But in Studio One, these ones are native. So Mix Tool is just my gain. I bring it up just a pinch just because the flute, especially in the lower register, is a little bit quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I bring up is my EQ. I have my kind of preset. I kind of take a little bit off the low end, a little bit off the high end, and that's usually pretty good for me when it comes to live stream.
And that is to cut out like room tones and any sort of like weird no frequencies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
And again, like the flute, when you have in the really low register and the really high register, it can get a little bit shrill and it can
mhm.
clip a little bit. So this kind of like evens it out just a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, in my recordings, I play around with it a little bit more to get specific effects. But when I'm assuming we're doing this as a live thing. This is usually like my baseline. This gets me just a pretty good flute sound when I'm performing live.
Mhm.
And then next is the room reverb.
Okay.
Um, because I am in my basement and I have lots of furniture and it's all carpeted. So there is like no natural reverb in this room.
Okay.
So I always put a very light reverb just because it makes the flute sound better.
Yeah.
I just think it sounds better with a little bit of reverb. So that's why I add
I
it.
love the visuals in this plugin. Like
Yeah.
it's really cool. So there's like that little box, and then there's the like. So what it can you like? I'm very distracted, but like, what all is happening here?
So this is the small bathroom this is my favorite for a live setting because
Okay.
but like there's a bunch of, so like I could do arena,
Oh,
and
cool.
the box kind of is just like, here's the dimensions of the room
Oh,
that you want,
cool.
because this particular reverb is called room reverb. So it's all based on very specific rooms. So like for our concert hall, we have like 20
Mhm.
meters by 1.78 by, so like it changed. It's saying this is how big of a room you are now playing in. And that's obviously going to affect what the reverb does.
That's
Oh,
that's the coolest thing is like I love the imagination of like room specific reverb as a director and like a theater person. That's my favorite thing to like
yeah,
figure out what world does this song take place in, you know?
exactly. And it adds, like, different reverbs add so much character to a sound.
Mhm.
I've used anything from like subway. I've
Okay.
used like a courtyard in my recordings. I've used a concert hall a couple of times. Um just depending on like what I want the song to sound like. I can
Mhm.
think of my song Amusement Park. The beginning, I think that one was in like a subway. But that part of the song is a very ethereal part. Like we
Mhm.
wanted something really big and open for that because it was supposed to kind of sound spooky and ominous. If you know anything of the game Near Automata, what's interesting is as the game progresses and as things happen in the game, the songs for each area stays the same, but they kind of have an iteration.
Oh,
So by the
cool.
end of the game, like this song gets very spooky and haunting at this amusement park. Um, so that's how we opened that song. So like but later in the song, we used a completely different reverb. I can't remember exactly which one we used, but we used a much smaller, not as echoey reverb because that part of the song we didn't want that. So it makes it fun.
That's
Uh,
really cool.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, that's fine. Now I need to find yeah, small bathroom. Small bathroom is usually what I like for my live streaming. Because it adds just a little bit to make it sound a little bit more lively and not as dead in
Mhm.
in this room.
Yeah, so the pretty flute can bounce off the walls of the
Exactly.
space.
Exactly. Oops, that is going to pan that, and I do not want that. I clicked. Oh, collapse. There we go. And then lastly, I add a compressor.
Okay.
Again, that just helps make sure that I don't clip, especially when I'm moving through some of the higher registers. Again, the
Okay.
flute can get very shrill, and especially if I pull out the piccolo, which I don't plan on today, but if I pull out the piccolo, it gets even more high and more shrill. So the
Okay.
compressor just makes sure that you don't hear clipping on your end.
Yeah.
And I
So you
usually
don't so
just
loud you don't blow it out, basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
So usually between the mix tool and the EQ, I usually only need a slight compression. So, and that's where that is. And then I just copy and paste this to all of the different tracks. And I think I need to add it to this track. Um, how do I? Oh, this is why. Okay, I'm gonna delete this track, remove track, because I'm going to duplicate flute 2 because that then just has all of, because there's nothing in there right now. It's just going to copy all of the inserts that I have on it to this track. And it's just easier to do it that way and then trying to add them all individually. So I usually build flute 1, put all of my effects on it, and then just duplicate the tracks however many times I need just to do that. So,
Sweet.
and then we'll do one more. And then that's going to be like my live track,
Okay.
what hopefully will come through when I play.
Yes. Full disclosure, audience. This has been a learning experience on how to get this all to share through Zoom.
Yes.
Just because one of the messages of this show is that we are all still learning, and even if you're a professional, it tech gonna tech. So
Tech gonna tech with Katie too. Like I said, I tested this on Tuesday. That means no guarantee that it's gonna work today because
Okay.
that's how That's how my life with tech goes. It's very unfortunate. I tend to tech likes to not play well with me, and I'm in a very tech heavy endeavor.
Yeah.
So, I put together a quick little 4-bar loop, and it's simple. It's based on the C major chord. So I'm going to improvise in C major, and that's essentially what it is. So I'm going to go up to my first flute track. I'm going to arm it. I need to make sure I'm not monitoring. I'm not going to be able to monitor what I'm hearing, at least through Studio One, because mic and tech issues. I don't know. I don't know why. I was just like, this works. We're doing it. All right. So I'm armed on the track. Actually, I'm going to move this. So this blue bar up here is my loop bar.
Okay.
Studio One is not built for looping. Can you loop inside of it? Yes. But it's not really built for that. So, you have my loop bar. Now that's only, so it's going to loop from bar 2 to 6. That's 4 bars. Okay. And I just move it over slightly because I'll start it at 1 and that gives me 4 beats to get
it together.
Now it's going to be 4 beats. That gets me 4 beats to get ready to start playing. Yeah. And you just do it you see the little pencil at the top that just drags over, and then down here is my loop. So I can turn the loop off and I can turn it back on. It's really helpful to easily turn the loop on and off. So if you wanted to build a longer track that like had part of it looping and then continued on, you could have it start looping, and then when you're ready to turn it off, you would hit that button and then the loop would turn off. Again, this is when having like a loop pedal would be helpful because you'd be able to do it all by tapping. But again, if you're just trying to get started in looping, you can do it. So and now that we have the first track, we are just now setting the loop.
That was really cool. I'm glad that we got to demonstrate that. And it's cool, like, once you get that set up, how, like, the workflow just goes so easily.
Yeah. And like this
Yeah.
is a great I think this is a great tool for like, maybe experimenting with different chords. Like I said, I chose the C chord. So like C G A are like the main notes, and like I just improvise over it. And yeah, it's fun. Um and like this is stuff you can't do unless you have multiple people before. Like you would need multiple flute people to do this. And now I get to do it by myself, which is great cuz I don't like going outside my house.
No, I mean, especially when there are many factors in that other than just not wanting to go outside your house. But yeah, I mean, it's time. And also it is really cool to see what you can do by yourself. Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else we need to see in Studio One right now.
I don't think so. So we can.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Sure. There we go.
Amazing. So the other thing I wanted you to show my audience was this glissando flute head thing, which I'm not sure what that is.
Okay.
But it sounds cool.
Not many people do it, but I started this whole rabbit hole started in August in Chicago at the National Flute Association convention. This is the first time in person since COVID, and it was great. And they had two different people. So I do want to shout one, Melissa Keeling, and I'm going to shout out her book because it's called The Electric Flute. However, only because she's a flute player. She goes into, if you want to start looping, here's exactly what you need. And like, here's things on a bunch of different budgets. If you only have a DAW, this is what you would like do. If you wanted to get a pedal, because she started doing it because like her boyfriend at the time, her now husband, is a guitar player. And she's like, he gets to have all these cool things for his guitar. Why can't I have them for flute? So she found a way for flute. So, like if you have a computer-based setup, exactly, like if you don't have any looping pedals or any special stuff, if you're looking for a microphone, she has a whole thing on like specific microphones that might be good. And again, it's a little bit flute centric, but like, cables and connectors, like what would you need if you wanted to actually have a setup? So this is a really good book if you just are interested in looping and like all of the different effects you can do if you have a loop pedal, or even in Studio One, like harmonizing and delay and stuff. I haven't touched too much into that because just time, but but if the effects are in your effects library, you can add them to the track exactly as I did. I would probably, like, if I wanted to add a delay, I don't know if I have one. I'm sure I do. Yeah, analog delay. I would put it after my compressor. So I would have my four things: my mix tool, my EQ.
Yeah.
You could probably move around a little bit, but like the mix tool, the EQ, and the compressor, I would always have first, and then any other effects after that. Yeah. Because those three are just making sure that the instrument sounds good coming through to the program. And then every other effect is more just like, how do I want it to sound? So
that makes me think that might be an interesting thing to break down reverb versus delay. And because I feel like people who aren't in the weeds with this stuff might not know that difference. But reverb is like the shape of the room and how things are coming back. And then delay is like how many milliseconds of like stuff that like delay like makes it sound like if it's really low, it just makes the sound a little bit thicker. And then the more you increase it, the more like it sounds more like a direct echo on the thing that you're putting in.
Exactly. So I mean, they're similar, but they're also very different, and it's just another way of like trying to get the sound. I mean, if you're doing this, you probably have an idea of what you want it to sound like in your head, and all of these effects just help you bring what's in your brain to life.
Yeah.
In a very real technical sense. So, but yeah, if you're interested in like just like learning about looping and the different effects and like the different like gear that you can get, and on very like she talks about her super fancy like several $1,000 loop pedal, but this is what she does. Like she performs with this. So like plus it also is an audio interface built in, which is nice because that's less gear she has to carry when she's traveling. But if you're just like, you know, if you want a specific mechanical compressor, here's ideas.
That's very cool.
Already built in. So this is a really good book if you're just interested in looping. Plus, you're supporting a small independent creator with their endeavor. Yep. I will always. But like I said, this is really what got me into starting to do the looping after I saw her performance. Also, what she has is called the glissando head joint. Which
okay, let's talk about this.
This is the fun flute specific tech. Okay. It essentially turns my flute into a tuba or into a trombone.
Okay.
So I will say you have your head joint. It's static. Like it's a tube with a hole in it. Like, let's be honest. That's exactly what it is. It's a tube with a hole in it. But which means like when you blow, if you want any, like you can't really slide. You can't glide easily. You can kind of fake that with slurs and stuff, but it doesn't glide like a trombone would. But the glissando head joint, actually, the mouthpiece oscillates.
Okay, so audio only people, I just had my little happy moment because like it is just like the hole is on like a little slider and then it goes back and forth.
Yeah. And so it has like these little tines that like, sit against my face.
That's so cool.
But I can pitch bend like a whole like step and a half, which is I haven't had a chance to quite use it yet in any recordings. But
sorry.
It's so cool. I really wish I had this when I recorded Phoenix because I do have a pitch bend in that song, but we added it digitally and it would have sounded so much cooler had I had this. But
one thing it is do you have original sound for musicians on?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's turn that on because it's cutting off.
Okay.
It's cutting you off every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
High fidelity music mode?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right, I have it added now.
Okay. I want to see this again.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so fun.
I'm not nearly adept at it as like Melissa or there's another flute player I know that uses it a lot in her music. Because I only got it in August and I haven't played with it as much as I want. But it's so cool.
That is the coolest thing.
It's like I can now be a trombone player.
Yeah.
I could live out all the trombone fantasies of all these fun slides and stuff. But yeah, it works where it's all the way pushed in. That's like home base. That's like what it would be if it was a regular head joint. And then it could, with how far it goes, it can pitch bend a pitch and a half. So it's fun playing around with like, okay, well, if I want to pitch bend up, like how far do I have to pull it out and what notes do I have to play that are different now? Because I'm thinking of like Phoenix, like I said, my pitch bend goes up and we added that digitally. But if I want it to pitch bend up, that means I have to pull it out and I'm no longer playing ED. I'm playing more like FE because it's so far out, it's pitching in ED. So and that would have sounded so much cooler than our digital one. So I don't know, maybe I'll go back and re-record it, but
that is, oh my God, it's super cool. It is. Oh man, and I don't know if the sound is 100% carrying, or if you just get like quieter when you do it. Like, but
a little bit of both. A little bit.
Okay,
of both.
Cool. So it does get quieter when you slide it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on the note.
Yeah.
Too, and the fingering. So
yeah.
So it does, because the flute was not necessarily intended to be that long.
Okay.
So it's got a lot more air, and because of that, I mean, it's like it's metal on metal. It's not, and because of it oscillating, like it's open here, so there is some air that comes out at the head joint.
Okay.
When it's not really, it was never really intended for that with the flute. Like it was supposed to be like one solid essential piece, but like, so you are getting a little bit of air loss, which adds to some of that airiness a bit. But yeah,
that's really cool.
It's so cool. It's
oh my God.
Cool. Like,
I love it. I love it so much. Okay, this has been amazing. And are you ready for some rapid-ish fire questions?
Let's go.
I'm gonna say rapid fire, but like we're gonna go on tangents. Here we go. So number 1, describe your favorite plugin as if you're an 8-year-old.
My favorite plugin is the reverb. And what it does is it makes a flat sound echoey.
Ooh. So many echoes.
So many echoes. It's like if you go into a I don't want to say a subway because my kids wouldn't know what a subway is.
If you go into like an empty room
or a tunnel, if you go into a tunnel and you talk and you can hear yourself, that's what the reverb does.
Yay. Excellent demonstration. What is a skill you're really proud of?
Just my flute playing. I've been doing it a long time. So.
Yeah. That's where this started before you got to go get a whole spaceship.
Yeah. And I think just being able to live stream, like outside of my flute playing, being able to live stream, there's so many moving parts, and I'm still learning, and I still have technical hiccups. And at this point, my audience it's not a Katie stream if we don't have one technical difficulty at some point.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a meme at this point. But like the fact that I can live stream and like I can like take that stream and make cool social media clips because like it sounds good. It sounds as if I'm like performing live with a whole team of people. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yay. And what's an area of tech that is overwhelming, or you're like just at the tip of the rabbit hole and you haven't gone down?
I would say like the looping pedals.
Mm-hmm.
I want one. They're expensive, so I haven't gotten one yet. But I think I would like to look into looping pedals more, just because it would automate some of this process a little bit. I'm a flute player. Both of my hands have to be on my instrument, so like having to take them off to like mess with the DAW to do the looping is not the end of the world, but like it would be. I mean, I have a Bluetooth page turner for my computer for when I do performances on, and I have my sheet music, and like that just makes my life so much easier. So being able to do a lot of these looping things with a pedal, with just the tap of my foot would just make it so much easier and probably more enjoyable. But it's not necessary, but there's so many different looping pedals that do so many different things and so many different price ranges that I'm just like, I don't know which one I would want to get. I'm like, I I have people who like to donate to stream and they're like, what are you saving for? I'm like, I would like a loop pedal. They're like, okay, well, like how much is it? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know which one I want.
Oh my gosh.
I don't
like, I'm
know.
still researching.
I'm still researching.
Yeah, I can imagine there's just so many options, and you could absolutely get lost in that rabbit hole. This might pair nicely with my next question, which is, if you could invent a piece of music technology purely by magic, like science leave the room, what would you do?
Oh wow, I don't know. There's so many options. What would I would think, like, just being able to push a button and all of my settings for live stream would be perfect, and I don't have to touch anything.
I think that's called a template, but
No, at this point,
Yeah.
I still have to manually adjust audio settings.
Yeah.
So like I kind of know, because I use OBS for my live streaming, so I kind of know like where my mic volume needs to be. I know I have a program that acts as like a set list manager for the backing tracks, so that like it when the song ends, it stops, and I can load up the next 5. I can load up however many tracks that I want to do. Like I could build a set list within this program. So I kind of know where that program needs to be, but like I had to do a workaround to even get that to play nice with OBS. So I have that, but then some backtracks are a little bit softer, which means I have to go back and fix them, like just to be able to not have to do all of that. I guess that would be like my audio guy, but I don't have an audio person for stream, and that would be very difficult with my current setup to do.
Yeah.
But it's all those little things. And as of right now, with live streaming like on Twitch and YouTube, I can't hear what stream hears. So I usually will have at the beginning of my stream, I like put a little thing up like, this is the sound check, where like I have someone who is always in stream and knows what to listen. Well, it's usually my husband, but he's always in stream. He knows what to listen for. And I'm like, okay, we're doing a sound check right now live on stream. There's not a way to do that beforehand. And there's not a way that I've found where I can hear what stream hears. I can hear my own levels. Like I can have my backtrack as loud as I need it. And I can choose not to hear myself because I can't stand to hear myself in my headphones. But I don't get to hear what stream hears. I kind of rely on them to tell me, hey, that part's too loud, or like this might need adjusting. So not having to do any of that. To just up on stream and everything be great. I mean, and like that's another piece of tech. I would like a little soundboard where I can just like do a slider instead of having to go into OBS and do manual slider. So yeah, that's my magic. I want a magic button that has all my sound exactly where it needs to be at any time.
Yes, I support that. Amazing. Yeah. Well, is there anything like any final thoughts on like music tech or like, things that takeaways from this conversation?
I think it is like, start with what you have. It's easy to be like, oh, I want to get into looping, so I need a looping pedal and I need Ableton Live, which is what a lot of live streamer or a lot of people who perform live with looping use Ableton, because Ableton's really built for live looping in mind. Like the program is designed around that. But like, unless you splurge for their $700 program, their $80 one is limited to 4 tracks, which if you want to build like very elaborate things, that's 4 tracks is nothing. Like 4 tracks is nothing. So, but like, who necessarily has $800 to drop on something that they're like trying out? So start with what you have and see if you can make it work with what you have. And then if you're really into it, if you really like it, then maybe do the upgrades. Like you don't need all of the things right now. And I know that's very hard to tell techie people, You don't need all of the things right now. Start with what you have or what you can get cheap or what you can get like secondhand and experiment. If you have a friend that has a looping pedal, being like, hey, can I like just come mess around for a little bit? Um, but like most DAWs, even the cheap garage band ones, will have a loop feature added to it. Like there'll be a way to loop it because that's helpful when you're doing production. Sometimes you want to hear the same part, you know. So everything will have a loop feature. Are you going to have to finagle it a little bit? Yeah, a little bit. But like start with what you have and try it out. And if you really like it, like wait a couple weeks. Don't just immediately go out and buy it. Like, because I mean, it could be fun, but you have to like ask yourself, like, am I going to utilize this enough to warrant investing money into? So
that is advice I think across the board for like any sort of like solopreneur or artistic person with shiny thing syndrome situation. So I appreciate you just like straight up momming the audience and being like, do you need that? You have a looper pedal at home. Like,
and I have to tell myself that too, because like I said, I would like a little MIDI keyboard for like my arranging, because it would make my arranging faster. I'd be able to like just manipulate my scores easier. I would like to have a soundboard so that like if someone's like, hey, the backtrack's a little too low, I can kind of do it on the fly instead of having to find where in the 800 tabs I have open when I'm live streaming my music. My program is to adjust it. Like but do I need it? No. Would it be nice to have? Yes. So I put it on my like Christmas list and like, you know, I have donation goals on stream, and you know, if someone like is really compelled to want to help fund that, great. And you know, if not, it's not that big of a deal. Like I'll get it eventually if I absolutely want it. I mean, say with the live looping, like I've been interested in this for a couple of months. I still don't have a loop pedal. I would like to get one, but it's just like I don't need one right now. And it's not super highly requested on my stream right now that warrants me investing in it.
Yeah.
Someone really wants me to loop. We messing around with this for a couple of minutes.
And you're like and I love that you have this engagement with your audience to be like, and they're watching you grow on that, and that you are modeling that like, this is where I am at, and we're all just working through it. So yeah, that's such an important takeaway, I think. So yes, the takeaway is build your spaceship slowly.
Yes. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for a couple of years, and it's only within the past like 5 months that I've built my studio to look like this. Like I filmed a vlog. I haven't edited the vlog. It's been months, and I keep saying I'm going to do it, but here we are, no vlog. But like I started with one setup, and now we have two, but like that was over a couple of years. And like I had this computer upstairs for a year, and I didn't have what it needed to do what I'm doing now. But like, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to have my own streaming setup separate, what do I need? Well, I need what did I need? I needed more memory. Okay. So we watched for sales. And when some of the prices of the stuff came down, we bought it. Like I needed a new cooling system because the other one was loud. It was like you could hear it on the microphone. It was that loud. But like kind of kept an eye out for sales, and when we found a good deal on one, we bought it. And it was just like slowly upgrading things as needed.
Yeah.
And like I said, I mean, my lights were my birthday present.
Yeah.
You know, people are always asking me like what I want. I'm like, well, I just want like nice stuff for my stream. Like I want like I understand that some of this stuff is expensive. So like if you want to just like fund half of it, like cool. That's less money than my family our family budget has to pay for.
Yeah. No, it's like you got a lot of things going on. Anyway, I know marketing, and I'm standing at the precipice of my favorite rabbit hole. But one of my important things is, you know, consumer advocacy and like being aware that marketing can be like really sometimes encourage you to just like, you know, you need this now. And you should ask yourself, do I need this now? As you just said.
I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. You know,
Mhm.
my husband has the real job that funds the family, but because I don't work outside of what I'm doing here, which honestly I don't make that much money. I'm not that big of a
Mhm.
musician yet or that big of a streamer. It mostly just funds like paying to release music
Yeah.
and a couple of things here and there. But like because of that, you know, I take my family's financial responsibility very seriously.
Mhm.
Like we budget for these things. So, you know, we prioritize what do we need. I would like to get a new microphone for my
Mhm.
recorder. I'd like a nicer microphone. The next step up will be a couple of $1,000s. Do I need a several $1,000 microphone right now? I don't. Are there other things that I would like to get before that? Yeah, probably. So that's kind of like on my wish list maybe one day because my microphone that I currently have, which we put a lot of research into,
Mhm.
works fine. It
Yeah.
works fine. Like, could it be better? Yeah, everything could always be a little bit better, um, but yeah, we budget. Like, we have to budget for these things,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of solo entrepreneurs are kind of in the same boat. They have limited funds, so it's like prioritize what you want. See if you can get it secondhand. Like, people are always selling old gear.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's a secondhand market in your area or even online now
Yeah.
where you can get a gently used piece of equipment for much cheaper than it would have been. Watch for sales like Sweetwater. I have a
Yeah.
lot of Sweetwater.
Yeah.
They're always running deals. So like just keep an eye out
Yeah.
of because maybe you can save a little bit of money by waiting a couple of months if you don't absolutely need it right now. So
Yeah.
I'm always a big proponent of like don't spend the money if you don't have to because
Absolutely.
like everything is just the costs of everything is just rising and we're all kind of pinching pennies and I but it's easy to fall into the mindset of like but my music would be so much better if I had this piece of gear and the answer is probably not.
Yeah. Well, and that's also the thing too is like are you wanting it to be better for your audience or are you wanting it to be better to like hold up to some weird standard of what other people are doing? Because other musicians are going to think what they're going to think, but are you clearly articulating the message of your music and your fans are enjoying it? Great, good.
Yeah. I mean
Yeah.
and like you know like my webcam right now like it's
Mhm.
a slightly pricier webcam but one, like, I don't have to pull out my big camera when I film
Mhm.
stuff. Like, when I do my Patreon updates, I use this webcam because it looks really good.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was the investment I was willing to make because it it saves me time. And it,
Yeah.
like, as a live streamer, how my stream looks is kind of important. And it's important to me. I
Yeah.
want certain quality. So, like, I invested in a webcam. Did I absolutely need this new webcam? No, but like have I saved a bunch of time with some of my video editing and like having a good webcam means I don't have to set up my
Yeah.
camera. I can take exactly what I stream and put it on social media and it's going to look good.
Yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
you got to weigh like okay, maybe invest a little bit more in something right now if it's going to save you a bunch of time in the long run. Like it's just priorities. You got to figure out where your priorities are.
Exactly. It's all about intention.
Yeah.
Katie, thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Katie Shesko Flute. I'm on Twitch at Katie Shesko. I'm on YouTube at I'm at everywhere at Katie Shesko.
Sweet. And
Oh,
we'll link all of those things in the show notes. And yeah, awesome. Thank you for being on the DAWk Show. We did it.
Thank you for listening to the DAWk Show. Make sure to connect with Katie through her links in the show notes. And there's also a link if you're interested in being a guest on the DAWk Show. Other than that, share this episode with a friend, subscribe wherever you're listening, and I'll see you next time.